Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today we'll be watching a video titled Safia, Middle East Sunni Muslima, met Lord Jesus. Abaya dress and voice changer for safety testimony. Okay, so I assume her voice is changed. And abaya dress, meaning that even the clothing is just to conceal her identity, I guess. So without further ado, let's watch.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Safia. I was born and raised in a small country in the Middle East by the name of Kuwait. I was raised right in front of a mosque where I would hear the call to prayer 5 times a day. Growing up in a Muslim home, it was very important to my family and I that we worshipped the Creator God Allah, followed the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, and devote our lives to following the 5 pillars of Islam as well. From the age of 6, I started wearing the hijab, its scarf covering, and when I went out in public, I was not allowed to go by myself. When I went out with my mother and my aunts, I had to wear this. This is called the abaya. This is traditional covering in my country and my culture. At the age of 8, my family and I decided to take a pilgrimage journey to Saudi Arabia, and we went to the city of Mecca to fulfill Hajj. After we finished Hajj, we were going up north to the city of Medina. On the way there, suddenly a crowd started to gather. And I was with my father, and I was holding his hand. In the center of the crowd was an Arabic woman, dressed like this, but you could not see her face, her hands, or her feet. And she was sitting on a wooden box tied up. Next to her was an Arabic man, dressed in a traditional Arabic attire. He did a traditional Islamic prayer on the floor, and he got up from the floor, and he pulled out a long golden sword from his side, and he beheaded the woman.
Wait. Is this in Medina? When was this? Is there any record of this event happening? Of beheading in the middle of the public in Medina? I'm not sure what is her age, but recently has anything like this happened? I'm totally do not know.
When I saw this at the age of 8, I started shaking with fear and anxiety that overcame me. And the commotion in the crowd, the men were chanting, Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! 3 times, which is God is great. And the woman was screaming and crying. And I pulled my father's hand. I said, Father, what is happening? And my father said, we're trying to raise you in a devout Muslim home. You listen to the teachings we're instilling in your life. Live as a good Muslim and die as a good Muslim. If you don't do this, this is what will happen to you one day.
What kind of teaching is that?
That we went to Medina to fulfill prayer obligation at the mosque, and we went back home to Kuwait. My family enrolled my brother and I in an Islamic school, and that's where I learned more in-depth teaching from the Quran and the Hadith. In my prayer times, I would lift up my hands, and I would always look to the sky and cry out to Allah for help. One of the important sincere prayer of my heart was, Allah, please have my father stop beating my mother.
Okay, considering of course, whenever I watch any kind of video of revert, but of course I want this disclaimer. My favorite type of video of people telling how they convert is personal videos, because normally that's more genuine, I would say, or what's the word, authentic, right? Because when it is made by a certain channel, sometimes the production value and the way it want to push a certain message makes the story goes in a certain way, or how it acting, or the selection of information. I don't know, I'm not accusing of anything, but still, going back to my initial point, I would always assume that whatever being told is actually what happened, regardless of those who convert to Islam, going out of Islam, etc. So she mentioned that her father beats the mother, and the way that the description takes place, or how she expressed it, I imagine beat in un-Islamic way. Otherwise she wouldn't need to pray with regard to that.
Allah, please have my father stop beating me. That there was no help coming for me to answer my prayers. I also wanted to know, Allah, if I died, was I going to paradise? Because I tried to be a good Muslim. I tried to do everything I can to be a good Muslim. But there was no guarantee offered to me to go to paradise. I wanted to go be with Allah when I died.
So what she craved is the guarantee. That is interesting. Would the story goes that suddenly she find the guarantee somewhere else?
In 1990, my family and I went to the United States for a visit. What I knew of America is what I saw on TV. You know, America is known as a Christian country to the Islamic world. So when we came to America, we were having a good visit. But we were woken up suddenly at night when we heard that Saddam Hussein's forces came and invaded the small country of Kuwait in the Middle East. There was a lot of destruction that happened within a short time. My country was, by the time we were watching, on fire. The oil fields were burning. People's homes were destroyed. Some royal family members were killed. Our home was destroyed, but we had to stay in America. Now we are living in a foreign country with a foreign culture, with a foreign religion. I don't know anyone that looks like me, that even eats the same food I eat, or dresses like me, or speaks the same language. My life with Allah and Islam was very distant. My relationship with my family was conditional love, but the only support in my life that I really loved, my grandmother died. In Islam, when someone passes away, they are offered no assurance, no guarantee to go to heaven.
Again, because she keeps mentioning about that sort of guarantee, right? That is interesting.
And I knew this. And I still prayed and cried out to Allah with tears in my eyes that He would have mercy over her soul. One day when I went to my job after the funeral, this lady came up to me and she found out that my grandmother died, and she put her arms around me and gave me a hug. Do you know, this hug gave me peace. I've never experienced this peace before. And then she asked me a question, would you like to go to church with me? Again, I've been living in America for 8.5 years as a Muslim. I drove by many churches. This was the first time I got invited to a big Christian church. When I walked into that church as a visible Muslim woman, the people in the church saw me and they came up to me and they looked me in the eye and they said, "Hi, what is your name? Where are you from? Tell us about your family." And they took great interest in me. And then they said, "We are so glad you're here. Thank you for coming." That day from these people, I felt a spirit of love and acceptance and mercy. That kind of spirit I've not experienced in my mosque before. In fact, there's a spirit of judgment in the mosque.
This is mostly the story of people, right? And I'm not going to say whether, how frequent something like this happen. I'm talking about the Muslim side, right? I know there exists some Muslim, unfortunately, that is very judgmental, including in place like mosque. But I know also for a fact that her experience where someone comes, her experience with the church, right? But on the mosque, someone comes to the mosque and being invited, etc. Those, meaning many revert to Islam, also tells similar story when they come to the mosque for the first time. So I would say that human factor plays an important role in many of these stories, where because we are, as human, are affected directly by how others perceive us, how others treat us. So as Muslim, if you are Muslim watching this, I hope we are mindful enough on our action so that it should be Islamic enough that makes others see the beauty in Islam.
For a Muslim, it's a duty to go pray in the mosque and hope that Allah will answer the prayers, hope that they will be acceptable in His eyes. But these people accepted me for who I was. I feel loved by these people. That is the first time I heard a message from the Bible.
How is that contradictory or anything? The fact that we fulfill our obligation while they accept her. How the relation?
A pastor is from the Prophet Isaiah chapter 61 verse 1. He said this is a prophecy of Jesus, and he started reading that the Spirit of God is upon me. He's anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He came to heal the broken heart and set the captive free. In the book of Luke, where Jesus walks into the synagogue, he opened a scroll from Prophet Isaiah and read the scripture and said, "This is fulfilled." This is the first time I heard that Jesus came to this earth to heal the broken heart and set the captive free. In my religion, I was that, and even more. I wanted to know a creator God. I wanted to know a loving God and a merciful God. After that, the lady bought me a Bible as a gift, and I started reading the Bible on my own. I had to hide it from my parents. I had put it in my mattress. But when I read the book of Exodus, how God sent Moses and to deliver and rescue the children of Israel, he even did miracles and to bring them into the land of promise. He provided them food and water in the desert. I come from the desert. There's no food and water there. But God provided.
She had never come across this story in the Quran. That's weird. As if she first time heard, the story of Moses and Israel, right? And Bani Israel. Is that, that's weird to me.
Provided for them because he loves them. He calls them his chosen people and the nation of Israel his heartbeat. I started seeing that I hated the people that God loved so much. And I got on my knees and I said, God, forgive me. I hated your people. I want to love your people. After that, I read
That's bizarre. Several things. One is, the background. Are we taught to hate a certain group of people? That's number one. Number two, about the chosen people as well.
the Bible even more, and I started going to church and hiding, and a group of girls started explaining the Bible to me. Something started happening to me. My heart started changing. The blinders were falling off my eyes. I was loving all people. I was experiencing joy and happiness again. And one day came, the day that I was going to get baptized. I realized the decision I was going to make was a very important and permanent decision. But Jesus is the only God I found that is loving, caring, merciful, and willing to give His life so I can have a life to follow a Creator God.
I'm very interested to know how she comes to that conclusion, that specific conclusion that Jesus is God, living God, etc. Because all the thing that she told before does not directly lead to that conclusion, unless how she processed things is like, wow, this story is good, right? The story of Moses, etc. And because it's good, I accept what this book says, including that Jesus is God. Is that how the processing goes about?
You know, I was so desperate to know a living God all my life that I was willing to give up my Islamic life to follow a new life in following Jesus as my Lord. That day, I rejected Islam and I became a follower of Jesus. And I'm so excited to say that I have been a follower of Jesus now for years, and my life has changed. He came and set me free. He gave me a life of hope and a future in Him. I am filled with joy and happiness, and I love to serve my God. I want to go tell the nations that God came over 2,000 years ago to give them a hope and a future, and to heal them and restore them into His kingdom.
Alright, so interesting story. I can see that happen, honestly, in the sense that someone, let's say, even if someone belongs to the religion of truth, but unfortunately she lives with problematic parents, problematic surrounding, for example. From that experience, suddenly she goes through a new experience that is very good to her, regardless of whether those people are upon the truth or not. But that experience compared to this experience, human is like that, right? So my fear is, if they are Muslim like this, the problematic ones, that actually push people, push their kids, push people around them far away from the truth, and they choose something that they feel better because of the experience. That's the worst case scenario for us, in the sense that how will we answer in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our action that have pushed others further from the truth? Na'udzubillah min zalik. Yeah, what do you think? Feel free to comment. Thank you for watching. See you next time.